Welcome back to another episode of Born Again Bowhunting Podcast. This is the kickoff series for our turkey series we got going on now. And so in honor of that, I kind of wore the long shirt. And we got Zach Ferenbaugh on today. So we're going to talk some turkey.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm excited.
Yeah. How's it going tonight, Zach?
It's going pretty well. I'm just happy to be recording with you guys and not editing one anymore.
Yeah, I bet.
Let us do the hard work and you just sit here and BS with us.
Yes, that's what I like. Editing podcasts, I've realized it just isn't that fun.
So it doesn't get you excited, huh?
It's not it's not challenging. It's like a different product completely than making a hunting video or even making just making a video as a joke or whatever. It's like editing a podcast. It's so
there's like no creativity that can be done in it. It's got to be when you're recording the podcast, the creativity part of it.
Yeah. It's just not as exciting as it is to sit down and edit like an old deer hunt or an elk hunt or turkey hunt or whatever. It's like that's way more fun.
Yeah,
but
it's good. It's good to talk in the off season and
it's good content, honestly.
Yeah,
and
I think
the podcast game is really starting to climb up.
Yeah,
a lot more. There's a lot more people podcasting. People are more, tuned to listen to podcasts. Like before, a couple of years ago, podcasts were kind of just like, But I really see that climb of people getting more involved.
Yeah, like the general public is starting to like half music, half podcast. It's not just music when they're working or driving. Podcasts are definitely, and for me, like if I'm listening to music for too long, I got put on a podcast.
Drives me nuts.
It's like I need something to like hear and like think about, and podcasts are perfect for that. So.
You want to know what's hilarious? I'm the complete opposite. Music all day.
Really?
I can't listen to podcasts. No, I'm not a podcast listener. I'll watch videos.
Yeah.
Sometimes on YouTube, but I don't like listening to a straight podcast. I don't know that I've ever on my phone one single time actually hit play on a podcast.
But here you are.
I know, but yet I record podcasts
all the time.
It's like my responsibility, and it's like
he ain't listening to it though. Afterwards, I'll tell you that.
If I know that it's perfect, and there's no audio problems, then I have not listened to it a lot, but I'm now making a video podcast, so I'm listening to them and then also like making a separate version for what goes on the audio platform. So we have a new podcast channel. So like we have a whole nother channel that I'm a little nervous about it really too, because it's like I sit there and I'm like, would anybody really like watching this? Like, I don't know.
So, we've got some feedback that guys just like the video version versus the audio version. So, I mean, there's guys out there that like to watch the video podcast more than listen to it.
I'm guilty of that. Yeah. But it depends on the kind of job you have. Like, if you have a desk job and you sit there and you computer, phone, or whatever, you can glance over and look at the people, and that's super interesting. But like Matt, he's got a job where he's like driving, hands-on. You can't watch a video, so it just depends on like your circumstances, honestly. So
and I just feel like I can actually stay. So here's my reason of not liking podcasts. A couple when I'm driving, and I'm listening to music, for example, I can just stay focused on that. Like I get to where it's, I don't know, for whatever reason, it helps me stay focused. Same thing when I'm editing a podcast, I like to listen to music, but it just keeps me rolling. But when I listen to a podcast, I want to be totally invested in that thought. It's like, for example, when I watch TV, if I watch a TV show with my girlfriend, she'll be looking at her phone. And I'm like, you're missing it all. Like I'm that guy. So it's like, I have to be all in or, and I think that's why I like watching them. And the other problem that I have is if I'm like listening to it with somebody else, I'll just keep pausing and talking about that. Because I'm a talker too.
Guilty of that.
You get 5 minutes.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. It's just, that's kind of some of the reasons I stay away and just kind of specifically watch a podcast on my own time where I can just fully commit to it.
All right, Kevin, I'm going to steal your thunder. I'm going to start with the icebreaker.
Go for it.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Am I good to start an icebreaker?
Yeah.
Even though we've been talking for a while. Your favorite album right now or artist, if the music is what you're listening to all the time. But right now, what's your favorite album or artist?
We put him on the spot.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. I'll jump in right now for me.
Okay,
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. You go ahead. No,
right now,
ahead.
NF has a new album. NF has a new album
Yeah.
right now. It's excellent.
Hope. Is it Hope, right?
Yeah, Hope is the album.
NF
NF.
dropped.
Yeah. Excellent album.
What's NF?
He is he's like a rapper, Christian rapper, but he's pretty mainstream
But
now.
it's like mainstream.
He's not it's
not like the quirky like Christian rap that you're used to hearing.
he's like millions of he's got a huge fan base. So if you feel like a rap,
check him out. Honestly, like it's different, but it's a good different.
It's very good different. Yeah. Very good different.
Yeah.
NF. I mean, different is not going to affect me whatsoever. I listen to such a broad. That's where I'm like, you're like, well, who is my favorite? What am I listening to? And it's like, I mean, I listen to so many different genres of music. The only thing I don't listen to very much is like real mainstream country. I'm not into that personally. You know,
the new pop country.
Yeah, but like everything. I mean, dude, I seriously love everything. I listen to. Been actually one of the things that I just recently have been into a lot is Neil Young, because he's not on Spotify, and you forget about that sometimes. And you can get on YouTube and just search any Neil Young song, pull that up, and it's just like, man. And you go for a long break of not hearing it, and it's like, I don't necessarily get on YouTube every month of my life searching Neil Young, but I like that. I listen to rap a lot when I work out. I listen to a lot of like when I'm also working out. I also like to listen to things like Metallica, Tool, Korn, just Pantera. Yeah, some stuff like that. And then also like a lot of just instrumental music as well, just because I love just losing myself in tunes. So like honestly, I listen to music so much that it's like I don't really have anything that I'm necessarily a favorite of. I guess
stumped you on that one, Chrome.
I mean, hey, you know what? I respect it. I'm the same way. Like I don't have to be like one genre, like I'll listen to anything and I'll enjoy it too. Like I'm the same way. I'm the same way. So
I mean, there's really nothing that can get too out there for me either. Really, it's like I listen to some stuff sometimes where people are like, do you ever listen to a song and like the end is just it's like a normal song has a normal progression, but then at the end it just is like some crazy jam or like just instruments doing stuff, and I've had buddies be like, what the hell are we listening to? It's like, oh, sorry, I've never really even noticed that.
Right.
It's like I'm listening to it, but I'm also just, daydreaming probably.
Yeah.
Thinking about big bucks and toms and bowls.
With some background music. Yeah, that's cool.
Nothing wrong with that.
No. Not at all.
That's the moment in the head of Zach.
All right, Kev, why don't we get into our actual icebreakers,
Okay.
and then we'll get into the podcast.
Okay, yep. So we got 3 questions for you. First one being, what's your go-to like drink during hunting season when you're on the road? It can be coffee, energy drink, water, you name it.
What's your go-to at the Casey's gas station?
Oh, go to it at Casey's gas station. I'm definitely going to get a tall coffee.
Yeah.
If they have those specialty coffees, which they have certain times of the year, I'm going for one of those, or just a regular Colombian black. Never anything else in it. You got it, like
just straight black.
You start putting too much sugar in your coffee, it's gonna start making your heart do weirder things than it's already doing out there.
Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged.
When you're like going up that hill and then it's like glug glug, and you're like, I gotta lower my sugar intake. So.
That's how I get up the hill. So, all good.
Yeah. And then, I mean, honestly, as lame as it is, but also I think a serious thing to consider is water. You got to have water.
Yeah.
To me, if you're not carrying like more than enough water when you're hunting, you're not mentally where you need to be. You're not as sharp as, you could be. Like, why? I guess to me, it's just like, I used to not do it. I used to not carry any water. And now it's like, why would you not just make sure you're hydrated? That's going to make you think, not have a headache, not feel like junk out there.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
So question number 2 is, what is your current bow setup that you're shooting this year? And you can go over a couple specs too if you want to, like your draw and your all that stuff.
Yeah. I'm shooting the Bear THP Adapt, that bow that we kind of helped create with them. And I love that thing, honestly.
That's good.
So yeah, it's like, I honestly go into things like wanting to just kind of be a punk, honestly. Like, I like just being different. I like trying to, always just, no matter what the situation, just like, well, let me make my own opinion on this. So we get this bow, and I got, just to compare the two completely different ends of the Bear line, I guess. I went with, or I got a hold of one of the flagship bows. I honestly can't remember what it was right now. And then that Adapt, pulled them both out, thinking, I'm going to probably end up liking this flagship bow, right? Well, within like 2 seconds of holding them, I'm just like, I actually think this Adapt is like a no-brainer, just the way it feels in my hand. Now, I'm not, by any means a pro shooter. I'm not trying to like necessarily have everything be completely perfect, but I like a good feel in the hand, like a smooth draw. Just a good arrow flight is, super important. And if I can get those 3 things, then I'm happy. And that's doing those things for me. And then I shoot 32-inch draw.
Really?
Man.
No. What the hell? 32 axle to axle.
Oh, I was like, are you 7 feet tall?
No, sorry, that was dumb.
No, that's okay.
Stupid.
I was just thrown off. I was like, wow, I didn't know how tall you were.
28.
Yeah,
sorry, 28,
okay.
28 and a half.
Sure.
Okay.
Inch draw.
That half matters. Yeah, absolutely.
Then I just always like whatever. Somebody told me once, if you max the bow out, like just torque it all the way down, that's when it shoots the best. So whatever the higher weight on the limbs, the better, they say. And then or that's what somebody told me. Hell, I don't know if that's true or not.
No, that's a solid rumor through the bow community. I think it's
rumor.
I think it's right. I mean, it makes sense. Like when you take you back the limbs off and stuff, like things kind of, your cams maybe aren't as efficient and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Most of us aren't good enough to tell the difference, but it makes you feel better.
Yeah.
And you're more confident when you're shooting. So we're all behind it.
So actually, this is the coolest part about my bow, if you ask me, is I took it outside and I spray painted it and put like stealth strips on places that I think are important. And, I kind of have been doing that more and more with all my gear, just trying to, why not, right? It's kind of like drinking water thing. Like, if I would go hunting, why not just like make sure all my stuff's totally silent? So that's my favorite part about the bows. It just is, it's mine, it looks like my bow. I like that.
Yeah, cool.
It's just I enjoy that stuff,
Cool.
But anyway,
a little customization, nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
And then, so the final question is, and I know you like to go off of more sign in the woods and stuff, but if you're running any kind of trail cameras, like what's your favorite trail camera?
I haven't used a trail camera in so long.
We figured.
That's what we figured.
I really haven't.
That's why we are consistent. That's one of our 3 questions, and we expected a no.
Yeah.
So
I mean, honestly, I'll just pretty much leave it at that. It's like, I don't use them, and I haven't used them for a long time. Love it. Yeah. Greatest, like probably one of the best decisions that I've made for myself personally.
Yeah. But. Well, I think a lot of guys get hung up on like the big buck that they got a picture of, and then they're not going to shoot a decent buck that comes across with a good situation happening.
Yeah, the problem that I see with it is like guys get attached to like a camera, right? And then like they forget the woodsmanship of like going in and like they're like, I got to get to that camera. And it's like, well, he could have been there last week when you got the picture of him, but now he's over here and you just walked by the sign that he just left yesterday to get to that camera. Yeah. And it's like, I think I use cameras a lot personally, but I don't rely on them where it's like I have to get to that camera because I just feel like what's hot in the woods is what's hot in the woods. Don't let a camera tell you otherwise. I guess it's just my opinion.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, I think they're great tools, and I think that's always one of the arguments, and I would never disagree. If you know how to use them correctly, they're insane. Like if you can use, like, I think the thing about it is, for me, has been, it's like, I know that if I use them, they'd help me a ton. Do I want that? I don't know. No, I don't. I really don't.
Yeah,
sure.
I saw it work the first time when we were using them the first year that I hunted in Iowa with Aaron. We just set up a trail camera on the edge of a field where we expected deer to be coming at night didn't expect to get these bucks in daylight. And we did get nighttime pictures of them, but like an hour after dark, coming from the bedding area that we had like put a stand in already, like in September or whatever, whenever, you know, we did it. I don't remember, a couple weeks before season. And we went and checked that camera, and it's like there's 3 big bucks using this at night coming to this field. It's like they're definitely in that bedding area. And we just went and sat in that bedding area and got one. And it's not always that easy. By no means. That's a super simple one-time situation, but I think that there's so many ways to use them. They're an unbelievable tool. I just think that, I don't know, I have a whole bunch of reasons, but
I would say like your lifestyle and like how you hunt, like you're going state to state to state. Okay, you got a picture of a buck in North Carolina, you're 4 states away. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
But even then though, I could make the argument, I think, where it's like one great use of trail cameras would be to just go leave them in the woods for a season or, you know, a year, however long you can get one to stay alive these days. But like, put one deep in the center of a bedding area where you expect very few hunters to go, see what happens through the season. And then it's like you could go in a year later and the bucks are going to be doing the same thing. I mean, pretty dang close.
To an extent, yeah.
To an extent. I mean, but it's going to give you the confidence. And I'll be honest, not using trail cameras, one of the number one issues that I have that hangs me up is there even one in here? Is there a deer that I would even consider shooting in this whole piece of public land? I'd say most times, you know, it's just a complete toss up, but like, you got to hope, you got to go in with confidence. And it's like, if you use cameras, just having the confidence that the dang things are in there, but I never know. I'm honestly just going completely off a track, you know, most times.
Yeah.
Especially in a state like, you know, Ohio or Pennsylvania or whatever, where there's not much open ground, it's a lot of timber. It's like you're not just glassing one up very often.
Yeah,
that's true. From your truck,
driving down the road, that's all you get.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It does happen though. It is, you know, if you're driving, have that glass on you, son. You know, make sure you're on your toes because, you know, you never know.
Stay strapped.
I've seen
with
one time I
binos.
saw a big old buck on public land, and it was still open season, but we didn't have tags. But it was still bow season. There was a big buck standing like 100 yards off the road on public land. And he was standing up middle of the day and just saw him just driving past. And it's like,
wow.
Yeah.
Keep your eyes up.
It happens.
Yeah. All right. Sorry.
No,
you're good. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's what we want.
It's fun.
Yeah, that's good conversation.
So, I guess to kind of start off the turkey talk, so if you're going into a new area, are you going to rely on map scouting, or what's like terrain feature are you going to put boots on the ground first?
Definitely gonna. Sorry, do you have?
I was going to say to try to locate a bird. Like, obviously, you've never been there before.
Yep. So I love looking at maps, and I do it aimlessly. Even like I'm just looking at nothing, like just floating around the country. And dabble around in Canada a little bit, you know, just looking at habitat and looking at different terrain features. And I do that so much that like I can pick up on spots that I like really quickly. So I really, really enjoy, my favorite way to go into an area for turkey is not really look at it at all until it's like, okay, where am I going? Like I've looked at, you know, let's say I have an idea that in the next year or two, I'm going to be going to a specific state. I'm going to start looking at that this time of year, or sorry, it is turkey season.
Yeah.
For me, usually when it's off season, typically I would be out hunting, but you know, back in the winter or in the summer, I'll be map scouting, just floating around again, looking at all these different things. So then I like to pick a spot. Generally, I'm picking a spot that I just, you know, like certain terrain features, or a lot of times I like, you know, more options, you know, multiple options kind of close by, having backup plans. And then just start picking apart the terrain and looking for water first. You know, a lot of places, I guess really countrywide, where you're going to find turkeys, you're going to find water really close.
Okay.
Like they just have to be around that. And also we were talking earlier, I don't know if we were even recording at that point or not, but we were talking about habitat and how important that is. And like one thing that water creates is a lot of habitat. There's always a different soil type that meets, drier soil. If you move away from that creek, you hit drier soil, so you're going to get some sort of transition line. And there's always turkeys around that. So just playing it super simple, looking for that. And then from there, how can I get into specific spots where I can hear a lot? Like whether that be some open ground where I can hear like across a field, or like off of a ridge or whatever, where you can kind of hear different valleys.
So Zach,
or just a high knob too.
Zach, are you looking for like large bodies of water, or are you looking for streams, creeks, dry creek beds, stuff like that might hold some water, stuff like that?
Pretty much a blue line creek on my map.
Okay.
If it doesn't have like water going through it all year, it's not a creek to me. It's just a little drainage.
Gotcha.
It's like a little rush that, on a rainy day is not necessarily the focus. I mean, it can have a little bit of habitat in some of those areas, and obviously scale can vary so much, but for the most part, I would say.
So you're looking for something that could like float a log year round, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then really the bigger, the crazier scale can get. Like, you can hit a place in like a big river bottom. A lot of the country, big river bottoms like that are private. But if you can find that on public land, and the scale gets, or if you can get permission, for that matter, by all means, those are the places that you ought to be asking, is a big river bottom. If you could just get a part, you know what I mean? You get a parcel of something like that. But the bigger the water, especially a flow is really what I'm talking about, a stream.
Gotcha.
Okay. Like the bigger the scale gets as far as how many turkeys can be there too. It's pretty wild.
That's cool information. Yeah, like I'm the target archery guy. Like that's information I didn't know. Like that's a great starting point for somebody that's just getting started with turkey hunting. Like that's cool. Like, I didn't know that information. That's it's simple, but you take it down to like the simple ideas. Like you gotta have water. That's like a simple concept for anything that's living. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, for anybody listening to this podcast that maybe wanting some more turkey knowledge, like whatever level you're at, don't forget about those simple things too. Sure. Like, obviously Zach mentions that his first priority is water. Well, a lot of guys can overlook that and get caught up in like a big chunk of timber that they're looking at because it's, 6,000 acres, but it doesn't have any water source on it. So just pay attention to that little stuff. So now that you've found the water, you found what you kind of are looking for on what grabbed your attention on, Onyx or whatever you use, what are you looking for elevation? Is there a certain elevation that you're looking for, or are you just like playing it by ear when you get to that location?
It depends on what the habitat is, right? It's like, or the terrain in general. There's some places where, you can hear a lot from a bottom. For example, I was taking a road in Colorado this past season, and there's a small ridge, and it was so gradual going up that I could actually hear, probably a couple miles up in there. Just the way the terrain kind of wrapped around that ridge, it kind of created like a stadium effect. And from there, I could hear him just plain as day. I could hear him better there than I could at times when I was in the same ridge system as them, which was crazy.
Really?
But, it varies so much, because I think you have to think, where you just have to really think about that terrain and like how the terrain is going to push sound around. That's like so important, and something that I'm constantly thinking about and getting better. And then also being conscious too of other sounds, like, roads. I made the mistake so many times to chase the turkey that's right by a place that I can't hear very well because of a road. And it's never a good deal at the end of that. I come out of there huffing and puffing and just like, better than doing this. Like, I just don't like doing that. I'd honestly rather not hear a turkey than try to figure out what's going on when you got a highway blasting beside you, if I can help it. So I don't know, side tangent, but I guess being conscious of all those factors, and then just trying to put yourself into positions where you can, ideally hear a lot. And I think my number one objective is get up high. I would say in most situations, just get up to the highest point. But for example, if you've got finger ridges that kind of have a plateau as a top and you really have no true high point, you may be better to get out on a finger ridge to where you can hear, up the valleys or up the smaller valleys, across a bigger main valley or bigger creek or something. And then I've noticed too, like something I definitely learned from being down there after several times, days, trips, whatever, down south, and like real gradual stuff where there's pines and really thick timber, you're better to hear long distance if you got something open. Obviously, a little elevation helps too, but if you've got open air and no trees, like the more trees you just got in your face, you can't hear, especially in that flatter rolling type of stuff.
Dense
So,
cover, yeah.
In hill country, to make a simple answer of your question, Matt, I think hill country, get up high for the most part, as a general rule. An open country have, or I'm sorry, like a more broken country, field country, get some open ground between you and flat stuff. And then, just always think, where can I hear the most from, and it's going to be different. And here, I think we're always hopefully going to get better at that and understanding that, because it's one of those deals. The more experiences you get, the more you realize how often you're getting fooled by terrain. You're just like,
it's the classic one gobbles, and if you got 3 or 4 guys with you, everybody points a different direction.
Yeah,
I mean, honest to God.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. And another thing that I think is a big, big thing that I probably don't do a good enough job reminding myself or anyone about this. It's like, I think a really common reason that people think birds shut up is they are not actually with them anymore. They're just not even in a place where they can hear them. Like, you take people into a lot of hilly country, and if they're not willing to keep moving with turkeys, then like you're gonna lose them, and you're gonna think they shut up. Well, they're just gone. Like, yeah, they just dipped off that ridge, went up the other one, and are so far out of your earshot. It's a common thing. Like, turkeys definitely move, especially a tom. I mean, he's a rutting buck, right?
Yeah.
He's moving. He's looking for hens. He may come back. That's something we see all the time. We'll chase turkeys in a huge circle and they come right back to the same roost tree or roost valley or whatever. But they're on the move.
Yeah.
And I think that, just trying to understand where and where to hear them the best from and why you may not be hearing them. No, that's super long-winded. Sorry.
No, that point that you made about, well, maybe you just can't plumb hear them. Like, I've never sat through the woods and thought that. I've always been like, man, why'd they shut up? Or why did he shut up? I never thought to like, well, maybe I just can't hear him, because he was hammering on the roost, and then he hits the ground, he's hammering on the ground, and then they worked away from you, and it's like, well, now, he shut up. It's like, well, it might be as simple as I just can't hear him anymore.
Could have went down into the next couple valleys, and
he's gone.
That's something simple that sometimes you just don't think about that, because it's like the classic, like, oh, he shut up. Let's go see if we can find another bird.
Yeah.
But maybe he didn't like your calling or something.
Yeah, or maybe he's just got a hen and he's just standing strutting in one spot. It's like, what do you expect him to do? Come kiss your gun barrel for fun. It's like, he's a wild animal, dude. He ain't gonna just come into every call that he hears unless he's just, a little too rutted up.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, hen or turkeys going quiet, it's just like, pretty much if a turkey's not actually just coming to me fast, I'm going to him constantly. Just never messing around with it. I mean, now with my new knee injury, I'm going to have to take advantage of being more patient, but I'm definitely more aggressive than passive when turkey hunting. Like, I don't necessarily need to just call a turkey to me. Like, I'm more than happy to circle in front of him and, maybe give him a few calls to entice him a little bit, but just get in his way,
Yeah.
I think that's another easily overlooked strategy of turkey hunting. And, with that kind of that common idea of like, it's so common, no matter where you're at in the country, no matter what county, whatever, somebody's saying like, turkeys are hanging up, they're going quiet, whatever. It's like, I mean, yeah, that just happens. You know, like you gotta just keep moving with them. You know, it's like, and really, the other thing too is like there's other ways to hang with a turkey too. You know, maybe if he does shut up, you just hang with him by drumming, listening for his hens, stuff like that. So,
which is hard next to a highway.
yeah, I mean, exactly, dude. Honestly,
no, I know
exactly my point.
I was like, well, you can't hear a turkey like a hen if you got the trucks driving by at 7 miles an hour. I brought it right back to your first point.
Yeah,
I'm listening to you.
So I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Also, with all that being said, I feel like I'm also should clarify like there's totally different ways to do it. Like if you only want to call a turkey to you, or you want to do, use decoys, just because I don't doesn't mean I care what you do. If everybody's got a different strategy, I'm just talking about what I like to do, I guess, and I like to be aggressive. And
yeah.
By all means, it is not the only way to do it, and I certainly mess stuff up because I'm too aggressive. So I just wanted to keep that in mind because otherwise, I'm going to sound like I'm,
No, we completely understand. Yeah.
I don't have all the answers. I just really like turkey hunting.
Yeah.
Well, I think so. When you touched on being very aggressive, like I'm fairly new to turkey hunting, like maybe 5-6 years of really getting after it, and like I'll move around some, but I guess I'm not too aggressive. Like maybe I need to step that up a little bit and just keep up with the birds a little bit more.
Yeah, I would say that we can all probably be more aggressive still. I mean, they're hard things to hunt, man. They're hard things to call in when they don't care about you.
Yeah,
like you can be the best caller in the world and they don't care about you. They got a hen right there. Why do they need to run over here and risk their life? In highly pressured areas where you got other hunters, doesn't matter if it's public or private, doesn't matter. If birds are hunted and they're pressured and they're getting bumped around, they're not likely to just come into, every call that hits the woods or they'd all be gone, know?
No.
Oh, there you have be extinct. It's true. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Well,
so it's just, anyway.
Do you have
we'll move on.
Yeah. Anything else that you want to talk about in regards to like finding a bird or like locating a bird? If not, then we'll go into like more of like strategically hunting a bird.
When finding, I mean, cover ground too. Like if you're not seeing stuff, just like keep her moving. Like,
okay, wait,
hold on. Gobbles, keep her moving.
I want to ask you.
Seeing.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So like, I don't always bank on gobbles either. Another thing that I was going to mention and should definitely mention is like some of my favorite hunts and some of the coolest, getting into turkeys has been go for a midday hike and just cover a bunch of ground and like use the obvious, track catchers. So looking on like a field edge or looking on a
ridge road or something like that.
Ridge road or like a mud puddle or whatever. I mean, really any track, like, or even just the main drag, like some public lands have, a lot of dirt roads through them.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen turkey tracks smack on the road and they just hear people coming and they just dip off and they go right back out there. And it's like covering ground by foot and in the vehicle and just kind of figuring out that balance and what works for you. And what really you enjoy, because I think you can get burnout doing both, right? You can get burnout if you're on a weekend trip and you're really just, going 100% the whole time. That's a lot of driving and walking for a couple days or 5 days or a week.
Yeah.
If you're doing that, you're going to burn yourself out and just trying to balance that and use what works for you. And also, not totally depending on gobbles. If you're hearing them not do that either way, look at the sign. If you're seeing fresh scratching, there's a turkey there.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't overthink that. Get to a place where he may be roosted or whatever. If you see tom tracks, best clue in the world. That's as good as a gobble to me. You see fresh tom tracks right here, gobble. I mean, better than he was standing right here.
Right.
I could set up right here and maybe get him tomorrow.
Yeah.
I love doing that too. And I have some cool pictures on my phone from over the years of just coming across sign. It's like no brainer. Like one that pops into my mind was Alabama. We walked way, way back on this gated, trail. And we got to this big saddle and there was a super cool long ridge that just went real gradual for a really long time. And there was a big saddle and just a super unique ridge. And then the fact that ridge was so uniform for so long. Everything was getting pushed through that saddle. We just came across these strut marks that were just so torn into that sand. It was such a cool, like duh. You have to hunt somewhere close to this tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I give a lot of credit to Keith. I ended up being the one that shot a turkey that morning, but they were the ones that saved that hunt and saved me from being too wild and just being patient. We were up on that ridge and we knew there's all this sign here, right? It's like, again, no brainer. Like, you have to be in this zone. And this bird starts gobbling, like, half mile, 3/4 of a mile back the way we had come from. And it's like, man, and he's gobbling pretty good, like going. You're like, should we go over there? Like, but he's a long way away, and like, we know that sign's here. And like, honestly, even at the end of the day, it's like that thing might come right up here, in the next 3 hours. And it's like, so we're kind of hanging loose on it. And finally I'm like, I think we should go. And Colin and Keith are just like, I don't know, man. I think we should stay. And it's like, there's a sign here. There's got to be a turkey in here. There's got to be at least one tom in here. And sure enough, we take that ridge out super slow. And then here they had hit the ground and come up the ridge. But because that puppy was so long and, not thinking of how we could hear the terrain most efficiently, we just couldn't hear them. And all of a sudden they're coming down on the bench below us. And we ended up killing one of them. But it's just like, awesome. I would have took off chasing the gobbling turkey, which in that situation, my aggressive or non-patient aggressive attitude would have, if I was alone, I probably would have done that.
So you guys
potentially would have cost us.
You guys didn't hear those birds at all?
Not on the roost, not until they had flown down and were clearly just traveling towards that saddle. So like, that ridge was really long, kind of shaped like, just a super long finger. And they were just working the parallel side hill, and they were just going to go up and over that saddle where we had found the sign. They were just coming from the nose way down and going up over that saddle. And it was, I don't know, just a classic tale of me losing confidence in an instant because I have, no confirmation. It's like what a trail camera would give me is that peace of mind of confirmation. Gobble gives you confirmation, and luckily we played it out and it was perfect. There ended up being like 3 longbeards with 1 hen in there. And they actually those birds hung up. I guess along the lines of hung up, those turkeys are a classic example of hung up. That ridge was really broad as well, and then it dropped off fast. So like the top was super broad and then a quick drop, and they were right on the lip to where they were below that broad flat spot on top. And they were coming down that edge, and they hit where we were calling from up on top, and they just stopped. And they just kept scratching right in that one spot. And I don't know if that was coincidence or the calling or just a true hung up, but they had their hen. They had no reason to leave. And we could hear them gobble, hear him strutting right down there, scratching, whatever. And finally, I just started inching up through some deadfall and just kept crawling a little closer, little closer, little closer, little closer. And finally got to a point where it's like, I'm going to try one more time to get them to pop up on this ridge. And they just didn't. And I eventually crawled just on my belly, just scratching along the way and stopping and listening to confirm that they're still scratching there. And, I could hear clues. At this point, they weren't necessarily gobbling, or I can't remember if they were or not. I've had tons of similar situations to this, but if they're not gobbling, just listening for the scratching or drumming or whatever to reconfirm that they're still right there and not getting closer. And I mean, honestly, if they are, just get ready, lay on your belly and get ready, which it does happen. That definitely happens. Or a lot of times I'll hear them coming and just, okay, so one of the things about being aggressive, and this is something that is like my number 1 turkey tip, don't be afraid to make the move that you have to make to kill the turkey. Because if you don't, you're not going to kill him. Just make the move. Just don't worry about it. Get there. Like, for example, if I'm in this situation, I'm crawling, and all of a sudden I hear him drum and he's like about to crest the ridge. I have to get the gun up. Get the gun up. Like, don't freeze. Don't get frozen.
Move when they can't see
or
you.
if you have no,
Yeah.
what's that?
Move when they can't see you. Like get ready.
Yeah,
That type
and
of
just
thing.
do
make
it,
that
and
move,
don't be
yeah.
too afraid about noise because you can always cover that with scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't make unnatural noises. Don't clank your gun against your binos and make a big clunking sound.
Yeah.
But make scratching sounds or ground noise is fine. Just get there.
Yep.
And since I've started doing that, it's been just probably the number one thing that has improved my turkey hunting since like college days, for example. Like we'd get frozen, man. We'd be like, oh, he can see us. And it's like, he can't see. He's out of sight. If you can't see him, just move.
Yeah.
And it's hard sometimes when they're blasting and they're 15 yards and they're on the other side of a log. But if your gun's not pointing at him,
You can't
point
kill
it
him.
at him. You're not gonna get lucky many times in that situation because an experienced Tom is gonna see movement or see you sitting against that tree and just fly. How many times have you guys just kicked a turkey that came in too close and he just took off? It's like a lot.
Yeah, and you'll learn that. Like you'll learn that. Like as
Real
you're
quick.
hunting. Yeah,
Real quick. Yeah.
Oh, you can tell a story.
No, I was gonna say you'll learn that real quick.
Oh yeah. And then, like you hesitate when you first start, and then you're like, okay, well I can't kill him because I hesitated, and then you just you said you have to learn to get more aggressive because
we've all made those
yeah,
mistakes.
it's just you learn.
I think the biggest thing too, and like it's a hard thing to hunting seems to be a unique one for all of us to make that jump of being aggressive. Like for whatever reason it seems easier, like assuming you guys played a sport or something like at some point, like it's a little easier to just hop into the sport and play aggressive because you can see other people doing it. But when you're hunting, you don't see people do it. I mean, you can watch a video and you can listen to a podcast, but it's like
until you do it. Yeah. Until you actually do it, you don't understand, and you don't have the experience to make the move because everything's so situational, right? Like everybody wants this magic answer to everything when it comes to hunting, but it's so situational that it's like, well, I can't give you that answer because I don't know what the situation is. You have to put yourself in so many different opportunities to learn. I mean, you have to mess up to learn because if you don't mess up, you're never going to learn. I mean, it's just common sense, you know?
To go off of that too, you also have to build on that. You can't just keep doing the same thing over and over and failing.
Yeah,
you have to learn from your mistake.
Why did you mess up? Why did he fly? Why did he putt? Like, how did he see me? Figure out if you were skylined. I mean, there's so much stuff that you can do. Yeah.
Well, and I think having a good attitude about it too. Like for example, if you just huff and puff out of the woods because you try to turn your gun on a turkey and he flew out of there before you could get a beat on him, and you go out all pissed off and kicking sticks and you're bitching about it the whole time, the whole rest of the day or forever, what are you going to get out of that? Or lying to yourself, being unrealistic, like, oh, he didn't see me. How many times have you heard that? It's like, what did he fly for? Did he smell you?
Must have been that deodorant I was wearing, boys.
But you just got to be realistic with with the mistakes that you make and like be so willing to make them, just be willing to make them and be excited about it because you're going to get a lesson out of it regardless. I feel like also trying to enjoy it as much as you can. And like, do you guys ever have the moment where you're seeing a turkey or you're seeing a buck and like all of a sudden you're just like, this is real life, man. Like this is crazy. Like watching the Tom come in sometimes is surreal. You're like, I've thought about this in my dreams for so long, and here it's really happening. And it's like, it's hard to cherish that sometimes because adrenaline's taken over too.
Yeah,
it's like that first like bit of like disbelief. Like you're like, is this like you were saying, like, is this really happening? And then all of a sudden you got to slap yourself in the face and be like, all right, time to kill.
Yeah. I got to zone in here.
Yeah.
It's that's pretty funny.
That's what keeps you coming back.
No, honestly, that's why we hunt,
Absolutely.
like that feeling, that's, that's why we hunt.
Dude, I just love like, you're kind of cold. And if anybody out there is immune to this, then I think there's something wrong with you. You're a little cold. You see that turkey or he gobbles and he's way closer, or you see the big buck kind of just out of sight, and all of a sudden you start getting that like shiver, like where you're like shaking because you're excited, but you're also cold.
Yeah.
And you're just like shaking so uncontrollably.
Yep.
That's a weird thing that happens.
Been there,
you're
done
like,
that.
Yeah.
I must really like this if this is happening to my body out here.
I'm convulsing and I'm having a good time.
We're convulsing while the buck's coming in or the turkey's coming in.
Your legs are shaking just as the deer's coming in.
You have epilepsy in your tree stand, but you're really enjoying yourself.
Zach, I want to touch back on one thing that you said, because I think it's a selfish question that I want, and I'm sure that if I want the answer, more people would also like the answer. You mentioned when you first started talking, when I asked if there was anything more that you had, you said don't be afraid to pack up camp, basically, and leave. My question is, when do you know when to leave? Like, what is the cardinal, like, are you giving it like 2 days? Or are you giving it a day? Or is it based off of sign? Or like, what are you doing? Pressure? Like, what are your thoughts there?
The factors, I would say, are pressure. Just how beat up a place is. Like, you can roll into a piece of public land and see that it's beat up. I've seen it a lot in Ohio, actually. Like, some of the most beat up public land I've ever seen.
It's rough. It's rough.
Yeah, it can get beat up, and you can just tell that. You pull in the parking lots, all tracks everywhere. There's trash. People throw junk out. Whatever. There's campsites. Whatever it may be, but. If you're seeing those signs and you're seeing a lot of vehicles, and you make a couple like drive arounds and seeing vehicles, you make a hike in, you're seeing tracks, you're seeing feathers out there has been a thing that I've seen. You're also not thinking that there's many opportunities to get away from people, because I'm not saying you see pressure and you leave. If you do that, you're probably always going to be leaving.
Right.
But, if there's no way that you're if you're looking at the map, you're like, man, there's no way that I'm going to be able to get away from these people. Then
I say there's no way for you to outwork anybody. You know what I'm saying? Then, what's the point, right?
And I've even been in places like, I just don't like hunting around people. Like, I would rather go and not see animals, honestly, than go to a place that's got a ton of turkeys or deer and see a bunch of people. Like, I just really like going out and being out there and getting that experience of it. Not to say that I won't hunt in places that are heavily pressured, because I definitely have. It's just, if I can avoid it and can get into a bigger area where I can, find some pocket that I can kind of
work with.
Yeah, and really multiple pockets. Like, I don't want just one option either. I definitely want, like, 3, 4, 5, 6 places that I'm feeling good about. Yeah. And if that's it all it starts to become obvious, I think, when you're willing to move. It's like, okay, we're seeing people. Campsite's got a bunch of turkey hunters in it. Some guy's got a Jake hanging in camp in there. You're seeing feathers in the parking lot. You got trucks everywhere, junk everywhere. And then you're not here, or even if you are hearing turkeys or whatever, you're not hearing many. It's just like, let's get. I mean, I would rather just keep her moving. Even if I'm just making a weekend trip, I'd rather spend the middle of the day, or like if you got a season like Ohio where it's closed, just kind of take a part of the day and commit to going to a different area and just drive it. If you got an hour drive, especially if it's not putting you any further from home or whatever, like, just go check out a different spot. What's the harm in that?
Sure. No, I like that. That's always something that I struggle with when we go out of state. We travel quite a bit for whitetail, not so much for turkeys. We go down to Kentucky a lot, but like, one thing that I struggle with is, like, we'll go and we're scouting a piece of public on e-scouting it, and you kind of almost fall in love with it, e-scouting it, and then you get there and it's like, maybe it's not what you thought it was on the map, or maybe that it's overrun by hunters, or you're just not seeing the sign. I have a problem with, like, not just packing up and going. I'm always like, well, maybe if we go like one more ridge over, we'll find it, or we'll go one more mile, we'll find it. And it's hard for me to know when to hang up the boots, basically.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, and it's something that's gotten easier for me over time. But, like, my best piece of advice is, like, be so unattached to places that it's like, it's weird. Like you got to just be like, I don't care about this at all. You can't care about it at all. In my opinion, if you're going to hunt public land, you cannot love a spot. If you really want to be super effective in public land and, multiple areas, like don't fall in love with the spot, keep removing. I mean, I don't know. I also like to do things differently. Got long hair. I grow my hair out, but like, I don't like to shoot a buck in the same spot. Like, I won't go back to the same place where I shot a buck the year before. That exact spot, I won't go there because I just don't want that same experience. I want to learn something different. I want to have a different.
No, I respect that.
That's cool. Because most people would go right back to that spot. Most people would.
Yeah, when they find success, they're gonna go back. Yeah.
And definitely. Like even elk hunting, every place that we've shot an elk has been totally different area. That's totally different part of the state.
That's cool.
And I just really, really enjoy that, real honestly. And I think it helps me get what I want out of it, is to learn as much as I can. And like, ultimately, I think I've also gotten better at a lot of things as far as, picking spots and like, and what I mean by that is like picking once I'm in an area, it's like, okay, this is it. It's like this, because I move so much, right? It's like you hit a spot and it's like, yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. And I guess the best hunting or the best success I've ever had, it's when I'm moving the most. It definitely is. I mean, it's crazy. You keep it moving, doesn't matter if it's whatever the critter. Yeah. You keep moving, covering ground. It's a strategy you can use.
Yeah,
I mean,
you will run into sign eventually. Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like light bulb, and it's like
smack you right in the face.
You can't just not set up here. Whether it's a deer or a turkey or anything, you hit those spots where it's just lit up with sign. You're just like, no brainer, man. Yeah. I got to keep hanging out in this area. And then that's when I'll hit a spot hard, and I'll do like a 2 or 3 day, like bang, 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 and just figure it out. But until I hit that, I don't do that very often.
These guys, like, just from a perspective that I wasn't with them, but they were over in Indiana, and Kevin and Matt found the spot, and it just like you said, they just kept moving, and then they found like the spot, and just the excitement that these two had. Like,
it is the spot.
Like, like the excitement that you get, like when you keep moving and then you find it. Like, I honestly haven't really experienced that, but just listening to you guys, like, that's just a cool feeling, especially on public land, because it was public land that you guys were on. And like, you guys just like lost your minds when you found that honey hole. And
dude, I was so excited when we found that. Like everything, you had that light bulb moment, right? Like you were just talking about, like, we went to Indiana last year. Quick side story: went to Indiana.
It's all good. I want to hear it.
Yeah, and we went on like a public land meetup with a couple other channels and stuff like that, and we basically just tackled some public land that nobody had. The rule was nobody could have scouted it before. We just like hit it and went after it, and we found some good deer. But like, he was kicking our butt, and like, it was on this piece of public. There was a little bit of ag mixed into it, and like, we went back. Kevin and I just went back a couple weeks ago.
Right about a month now.
Might be a month ago. We scouted it because it was just driving us nuts. Like, why we couldn't kill this sucker. And we went back there, and like, everything just clicked. The way he was using the thermal, and the way like everything was, and like, we paid attention to, like, there was actually, this place was pressured pretty decent, but he had such a good bed that he never left. And like, we walked it, and like, it made so much sense. We're like, the reason why he's doing everything is because no matter how you come at him, the thermal pull is just going to go right to him, and there's no way around it unless you get right in there with him, and for like an all-day sit in the morning or something like that. And we got a game plan. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but we'll figure it out.
At least we got some more pieces to the puzzle, though. That really helped out by scouting it again.
So what conditions are you going to try to utilize to get into that spot in that aggressive fashion?
So rewind. We'll get more invested in the story now. So we actually took some cameras with us, and it was late October, and my strategy was to find some bucks hitting scrapes. I wanted to find them community hub scrapes. I wanted to find the stuff that, like, maybe we could catch him in daylight. Well, we got a picture of a deer that would be an absolute wall hanger for anybody's man cave. And, he's one-eyed, like blind in one eye, just big, gnarly, like just tank.
A sweet deer.
Just tank. And we had pictures of him coming out like maybe a half an hour after legal, hitting that scrape, which was maybe 30, 40 yards from a field edge, private ag.
Mm-hmm.
And we had pictures of him going back in like 20 minutes before legal. So like that deer was so killable, but there was so much pressure in the area. I just think that people saw him from the road in that private ag because there was tree stands on the field edge. There was trail cameras on the field edge. There was actually
all focused up by the field.
Everybody was hunting right next to the ag. Like nobody was going 5 feet off the ag. So we threw some sits at him and stuff, but like we didn't know how deep to get, and we made the mistake of not going deep enough. And what happened was we went back. We figured out how he was using the terrain, and I actually got on a trail that a very faint trail that came out of his bed, and we found his bed. We found 2 beds actually that just picture perfect, up on an elevation, overlooking a bottom, like window over his back, just tucked up next to a log, typical, off the biggest finger ridge, off the main ridge, like typical buck bed. And I followed a faint trail, dropped down in this river bottom, came up the other side, and I just kept following it. And I'm like, I'm going towards where we had that camera on that scrape. Like, I hope that it runs out right here. No joke. I'm walking, and all of a sudden I see the tree that I put the camera on, and that was the scrape that he was hitting before he would go out into the field. But what he was doing was he was like the typical J hook, right? Like he was J hooking the whole field, and he was dropping down in this bottom. He would drop down in the bottom. All the thermals were coming to him, and then he'd come up the other side, and he'd hit that scrape. So my thought was that while he's out in the ag, at night, we get in there super, super early and try to get him on his way back. Because I think the way he was coming in, I think he was such an old deer and such a mature deer that he's almost getting a little bit lazy on how he was approaching his bed, because the beds that we found were so worn out that it was like, it's his.
That's home base, baby.
And I think that he's getting so comfortable with like the field edge hunters that I think that if somebody threw a set like right on top of his bed, you might be able to kill him. So
yeah,
that's what we're going to try. But
that sounds sweet. I like that.
Sorry.
I love it. I love hearing that. And that's a great story. I'm excited. That makes me excited because I love that.
I'll send you a picture when we smack him next year.
Yeah. Well, if you got pictures of his bed, even, I'd love to see that too. But I was just thinking, like, it's been a while since I found a bed like that where I'm like truly excited about that specific spot. And I feel that I've kind of gotten, I'm always factoring bed hunting in for sure, but I've almost in a way gotten away from, I don't know, it just depends on the situation. Bed hunting, it's such a unique thing. And I think that when you find a spot like that, though, especially with the tricky wind, something that I think is a great idea is go in on a calm morning and just go super early and just be
Amen.
Just be so insanely consistent with how hard you're working to stay quiet, and you can pull something like that off. And a lot of times in the morning, if he's taking advantage of this like suction type of thermal pull, you can get away with that for a couple hours. And a lot of times a buck like that, for example, if he knows he's getting hunted by a field or hunted by the field edge, I just think a lot of times he knows that he's getting hunted by the field edge, like you guys said, and then he goes back super early, and he may even be bedded before daylight, an hour before daylight, but he's gonna move in there, and once he's in there, he's gonna feel safe. And if you might be able to pull it off for a couple hours to where you might catch him make a second or third bed within the morning. And if you're willing to be super aggressive too, you get in on a calm morning and you're on the ground and you hear him come in, you can call, you can sneak up there and call, especially if it's thick and he can't see you. But I really like the idea of just getting in tight to him in the morning if you know exactly where he's coming back to, because it's like he's probably not gonna be that late, especially if he's hunted by the field edge, right? I think you guys got a hell of an idea. It's great.
And then one thing I forgot to mention was like your traditional like community scrape, like in the bottom where all the fingers kind of meet. Like, so he had probably 4, 5, 3.
He had at least 4
scrapes that were like the size of and I'm not exaggerating. I probably shouldn't be saying this because then everybody's gonna be jumping to where they're gonna try to figure out where we were. There was scrapes that were like the size of the hood of somebody's truck.
Yeah.
And what made sense was they were in such a tight area that in my mind he was staging there because he anticipated the hunting, the pressure on the field. So he anticipated the pressure on the field. So he staged and he just got bored almost. And he made so many big scrapes. And then all of a sudden he's like, all right, coast is clear. The thermal pole.
Haven't smelled anybody.
I'm going to go out to the field now.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to try to utilize that too. The way that if you saw it on a map, you would understand a little bit more, Zach. The way the terrain is, you can get away with a little bit. And the way, there's a river that runs through it, and I'm hoping that we can use some of that pool to our advantage. And, I really do think that we can get away with getting right on top of them.
Mm-hmm. That's what we're going to have to do.
Go try it.
We're going to have to do that, yeah.
It might not work, but we're going to give her heck.
Yeah, that sounds sweet. Can you guys still hear me okay? My headset.
Yeah.
You're good. Yeah,
no, we can hear you.
As long as you can hear us, yeah, you can hear us.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, little deer hunting.
Yeah,
side note.
Sorry to jump down. That's my true passion. So I could talk for hours on the old whitetail, but
honestly, it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
I could talk about it, and when it comes down, well, I shouldn't say that. I couldn't talk about waterfowl, but deer, turkey, pronghorn, elk.
That's cool.
I could talk about that stuff all day.
Cool.
Love it.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, I want to be cautious of your time too, Zach, and we are at an hour.
If you got more turkey questions, ask away. If you want to cover a few more things, that's totally cool.
I'm thinking maybe we make a part 2. We'll stay on with you, but because we're at an hour right now on the mixer.
Yeah.
And I think that if we end this one, I think that was a good ending spot.
Yeah.
And then we'll just jump into another one.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
If you guys are cool with that.
I don't care. Yeah.
As long as you got time.
Cool. It's his time.
Cool, man.
Okay.
We can do it.
Sweet. So let's wrap this one up, Kev, and then part 2 will be coming up.
Okay. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, yeah. Stick around for part 2 with Zach on the turkey talk. That'll be coming out next after this one. Then. So
yeah. I don't know how it'll air, but we'll
figure it out.
We'll let you guys know. Yeah.
Alrighty. Doesn't matter what you've done in the past. You can always be born again, and born again is out.
Peace.